In the heart of southern Africa, two lions, Koda and Leya, have spent years roaming the wild, hunting and living freely. They have witnessed the changing seasons, the endless cycles of life and death, and the rhythm of the savanna. But as time passed, the environment around them began to shift. The climate was changing, water sources were drying up, and prey had become harder to find. It was no longer safe for them to stay in their old territory. They faced difficult choices, but one stood clear. They had to leave and find a new home. For days, they journeyed across hundreds of kilometers, struggling with hunger and navigating dangerous encounters with other predators. They pushed forward despite the harsh conditions, driven by the scent of fresh water and the hope of finding a place where they could thrive. Every step felt heavier, but they didn't stop. They couldn't. Finally, they arrived at Koda National Park, one of the largest and most protected reserves in South Africa. Its vast grasslands stretched far and wide, teeming with rich ecosystems that promised a safe haven. However, this new world was not what they expected. The park had patrol cars, watchtowers, and security fences, all things they had never seen before. Koda and Leya were cautious, unsure of this unfamiliar environment, but they had little choice but to explore it. It wasn't long before two staff members from the park, Sifo and Namsa, noticed the pair. Sifo, a seasoned patroller, was used to traveling across the savanna to check on wildlife. Namsa, a dedicated wildlife observer, had an eye for subtle changes in animal behavior. They both immediately recognized the lions as newcomers. This was a rare sight, but instead of rushing to take action, they decided to watch and observe from a distance. They were unsure of the lions' intentions and wanted to ensure their safety first. As they observed, something caught Namsa's attention. Leya, the female lion, was moving slower than usual, and her belly seemed to be expanding. Koda, the male lion, was unusually protective, constantly keeping an eye on her. Namsa's trained eye quickly made a connection. Leya might be pregnant. This was both a good sign and a cause for concern. A lioness pregnant in the wild is vulnerable, and without proper care, complications could arise. Sifo agreed with Namsa's observation, and both of them felt a sense of nervous excitement. If Leya was truly expecting, it could be a major step forward for conservation efforts. Weeks went by, and the signs became even clearer. Leya's movements slowed down further, her belly growing heavier. The team at Koda National Park felt hopeful, but they also knew that this would be a delicate time for Leya. Sifo, understanding the seriousness of the situation, began preparing medical supplies in case of an emergency. They hoped that everything would go smoothly, but the reality of the wild meant that nothing was ever guaranteed. Then came a day when things took a dramatic turn. Leya began experiencing excruciating pain. It was clear that the labor wasn't progressing as it should, and she was struggling. For 2 days, Leya lay in pain, unable to move much. Her cries echoed through the plains, and Koda, always by her side, paced anxiously. He roared out of frustration and worry, his eyes filled with concern. This was a moment of crisis, and it was clear to Sifo and Namsa that they had to step in, but they had to be careful. Getting too close could provoke Koda to attack. They were well aware that lions are territorial and protective of their mates. Sifo and Namsa, using their experience and instincts, decided to approach the lions cautiously. They knew that the situation was dire. If Leya didn't get help soon, she might not survive the labor. But how could they offer assistance without making things worse? With extreme care, Namsa approached the lioness slowly, speaking to her in soft, reassuring tones. Koda watched them closely, his body tense, ready to protect his mate. But surprisingly, he didn't attack. He stood guard, but he didn't make any aggressive moves. Namsa administered a special medication designed to help Leya with the delivery. It was a risky decision, but it was the only chance they had. As they waited, the hours seemed to drag on. Leya's labor intensified, her body trembling with each contraction. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a tiny lion cub was born, Mosi, a symbol of new life and hope. Koda immediately licked his cub, his protective instincts shifting from worry to joy. Leya, though exhausted, looked at her cub with a mixture of relief and love. She had made it through the ordeal, and so had her baby. The moment was emotional for Saifo and Namsa. They had just witnessed the birth of a new life in the wild, and their intervention had made all the difference. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the savanna, Saifo quietly whispered a prayer of thanks. The lion family, once strangers in this new land, were now safe and together. The two park staff members, overwhelmed with emotion, named the lion family. Koda, the brave and protective father, symbolized courage. Leya, the strong and nurturing mother, symbolized hope. And the cub, Mosi, whose name means new beginning, was the future of this family and the park. After ensuring that Leya was stable, Saifo and Namsa quietly left the area, giving the family time to rest and bond. As they drove away, they couldn't help but look back at the lions, knowing that their actions had saved a life and brought new hope to the reserve. Days passed, and Saifo and Namsa continued their work. But every time they passed the lion family, they couldn't help but notice the change. Koda and Leya were no longer wary of them. They had learned to trust the humans who had helped them. They watched the patrol vehicle, not with fear, but with recognition. The bond between human and animal had been forged in that crucial moment of intervention. The story of Koda, Leya, and Mosi soon spread throughout the park. It inspired others, showing that humans and wildlife could work together to protect and preserve the beauty of nature. The lions had a future here, and their presence in the park was a sign of the success of the conservation efforts. As the days turned into months, Mosi grew stronger. Under the watchful eyes of Koda and Leya, he learned how to hunt and defend his territory. The family thrived, and the park became a safe haven not just for them, but for other wildlife as well. In the mornings, Koda stood tall and proud by his family, always watching over them. Leya, still as strong as the day they met, moved gracefully by his side, her eyes always on Mosi. Together, they were a symbol of resilience, of new beginnings, and of hope. Saifo and Namsa continued their patrols, knowing that they had played a small part in something much larger, the survival of a family and the preservation of the wild. Every time they saw the lions, they were reminded of the powerful connection between humans and nature. And though they had saved a life, they knew that every day brought new challenges. But with faith, determination, and compassion, they believed that the wild would continue to thrive. The story of Koda, Leya, and Mosi became a beacon of hope, showing that even in the face of adversity, life could prevail. And it all started with one decision, one act of kindness, and a belief in the power of the wild. Remember, every life is precious, and through faith, compassion, and dedication, we can all make a difference in preserving the wonders of nature. As the days passed, Koda, Leya, and Mosi flourished in Koda National Park. Their story is a reminder of the delicate balance between humans and wildlife, and how even small acts of kindness can create lasting change. Thanks to the courage and compassion of Saifo and Namsa, this lion family is now safe, and their journey continues in a world where hope and nature coexist. The wild is full of surprises, moments of wonder, and stories like this one. It's up to us to protect it, one life, one family, one action at a time. If you've been inspired by Koda, Leya, and Mosi's journey, make sure to subscribe to Animal Notebook. Stay connected with us for more incredible wildlife stories. And remember, the wild is waiting for us to protect it. Hit that subscribe button and join the Animal Notebook family today. Together, we can make a difference.